Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. I decided to do an extra podcast for this week, so I'm going to do three instead of two because there's a lot I want to talk about. So let's get started. Let's talk about the New England and Kansas City game. So there are many talking points that I could discuss here, but I want to discuss the decision Bill Belichick made to bring in Jarrett Stidham. I liked the move, and here are a few reasons why. One is even though the game's close, you're the underdogs, you're playing with house money, you can take a risk. Second, why not see if Jarrett Stidham has something? If he's productive and can make the game interesting, then you know you have something in case Cam Newton gets injured or something like that. Against the defending Super Bowl champions, no less, it's interesting to see what Stidham had. But now we know what Stidham is, based off a very small sample size. He's the backup for a reason. Now, I'm not knocking him for that first interception that he had, because that was clearly Edelman's fault. But Jarrett Stidham looks like a gunslinger. He's just going to throw it, and it's going to be... He's going to make some throws that's going to leave you in awe, and then throw some throws that's going to leave you so confused. And he's going to be kind of like that. And so, in my opinion, I feel like he definitely has some potential. But the conclusion I'm coming to is that Bill Belichick needs more time with him to kind of groom him to be like a Tom Brady-esque. Hey, don't turn the ball over, don't make mistakes a lot, just play within the system, be a good game manager. You don't. So I feel like he's got to groom him into being that before he would be ready to take more reps. Now, I believe Newton's probably going to be out for the next game because he has to be quarantined for around 2 weeks or so. So I believe he's going to be out for the next game. Now, it's going to be against the Denver Broncos, so which stinks. It'll be interesting to see if he decides to go back to Hoyer for the next game or if he's going to start Stidham next game. If I were him, I would start Stidham. It's like you already know what you have in Hoyer. He's an established backup veteran. Like there's no need to play him at all. Just get against a bad Denver team, just get Stidham the reps and see what happens from there. So now to talk about the other games quickly. Not much to say here, but I will acknowledge that even though Atlanta does have a lot of injuries in the secondary, and that Julio Jones got injured at some point in the game, which is all big deals, especially facing Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this Atlanta team is not a playoff caliber team at all, and I doubt they'll make a little run at the end like they did last year to save Dan's job, where they went like 7-9 after going like 2-7 to start off. But I mean, we've already seen one head coach go. Dan Quinn needs to go. 0-4 start for him is just unacceptable. You can't let a rebuilding Carolina team go do better than you. That's just unacceptable. But now we are going to talk about the coach who just got fired yesterday, Bill O'Brien. At first, I thought it was going to be an Adam Gase or Dan Quinn or Matt Patricia or something like that, but nope, it's Bill O'Brien. I mean, I thought he should have been fired as a GM at least a long time ago, and that Hopkins trade just put over the top there. Because right now he's not justified with Houston going 0-4. And then as a coach, he's kind of like a Jason Garrett-esque coach. Like, he's going to be mediocre. He'll lead you to the playoffs sometimes. Maybe even get you a win or two in the playoffs. But if you want to get to that Super Bowl level, then you got to find a different coach for that because he has a ceiling. He has limitations as a coach. But the risk now for Houston finding a new coach is that in order to get you to the Super Bowl level, you have to find one that's either A, like been there, done that, experience. But the problem is if there was one like that, they would already be coached right now because there's not a lot of those just sitting in the free agent market. And then the other option is to take a risk with a coordinator and hope they become a good head coach. So right now, there's Kansas City offensive coordinators, a popular one, 49ers defensive coordinators, another one. There's a couple different options there. But as a GM goes, like I said, he was terrible. So guess what he left for Deshaun Watson to work with? He left him no number one receiver now. Like Fuller's good, Kenny Stills is good, Cooks. They're all good, but they're all basically number two receivers. They're none of them are number one. They're all good number twos. So he left in with no number one wide receiver, a so-so running game, a mediocre offensive line, even though he spent draft picks on the offensive line, a bad defense, we can't force a turnover, and no first-round draft pick next year. So it may take 2 seasons for Houston to recover, and this is all during Deshaun Watson's prime. That's how you know that he was a bad GM, if you didn't already. But now there's another coach that's on the hot seat, and I have already lost patience with, which I usually don't, in a first-season head coach. But Mike McCarthy was a bad hire. Jerry Jones just had to hire someone who he can be buddies with, and that coach gets a defensive coordinator in Mike Nolan, that should never be a defensive coordinator. Last time he was a defensive coordinator in the Falcons, he stunk. And the only reason he even got this job is because he hired McCarthy to be a coordinator back in the 49ers back in the days. It was kind of a, I owe you one type of thing. Well, you owed him one, and it didn't work out, so he should be fired. But the problem is, even if Jerry Jones hired a new coach, there's still going to be a problem, and it's Jerry Jones. So until Jerry Jones sets aside his ego and he hires a coach that may not see eye to eye, but he wins and gets results like a Jimmy Johnson back in his day or Bill Parcells, the Cowboys will never be Super Bowl contenders, and that pains me to say as a fan. And I thought about it as I was texting my friend how the Cowboys can be fixed, and I outlined a 7-step plan from being a dysfunctional franchise to Super Bowl contender that I want to share with you briefly. Step number 1, have a good owner. So, right now, I don't believe Jerry Jones is that good of an owner, so that means find a new good owner. 2, hire a capable GM. Now, what do I mean by that? Meaning, one that's not going to be too, one that's not going to make dumb moves like a Bill O'Brien did, but it's like, one that's not going to be too risky, but not too safe. Like, you can take a risk sometimes, but don't get carried away with it type of thing. One that's not going to just play it safe, because playing safe ain't going to win you much. 3, hire a good head coach. And what I mean by that, meaning one that's going to be A, a good leader, B, know what type of players he has, and will adjust and accommodate to those players. Because right now, we have Ezekiel Elliott, and McCarthy just wants to throw it all over and doesn't go for the run game. So he needs to find a good coach, something like that. They'll adjust, and as a good leader. 4, have a franchise QB, not a starting QB, like a I don't know, like a Derek Carr, because they're just starting QBs, but I want to start a franchise around them. You need to have an actual franchise QB like a Mahomes or Jackson or Rodgers or Wilson, stuff like that. Step 5 is have good drafts and free agency. So that means when the players you draft, you got to develop and turn them into good role players in a free agency. You're not gonna be able to get everyone, but you got to be selective on who you get, and go after them with good pricing. You can't overpay for them. 6, don't have too many people injured. That's an obvious one, because even if you have a good team, if you just have too many injuries, like right now with the 49ers, they just have too many injuries, so it's all for nothing. And then 7 is have good fortune, get lucky, because sometimes, even with all that, it's just sometimes the ball needs to bounce your way, or call needs to go your way, or something like that, so you need to have those type of stuff going for you as well. So once I can check off this list, then I can say the Cowboys are contenders, or any team for that matter. So in my next podcast, though, I'll be going over the teams I feel like check off this list and are therefore Super Bowl contenders. So next, I'm going to go over my top 10 NFL rankings for this past week. So let's get started. So number 1 will still remain Kansas City. Now I know they struggle offensively, especially in the first half, but that's Bill Belichick for you. So I'm not going to hold them against that, and they were able to get stuff going eventually. So that's a good win there. 2, Seattle. Again, this was a game where they couldn't go high scoring as much, but Russell was able to find a way and went on the East Coast in an early morning game there. Russell Wilson still might be the favorite. 3rd, I have Buffalo. I just love what I'm seeing for Buffalo so far. Even though if it wasn't for P.I. Cole, the Keys would be 3-1. I just love what I'm seeing from them so far. They're going to be, looks like, I'm not sure playoff-wise what they're going to do, but regular season-wise, they're going to contend for the top 2 seed potentially. 4 is Green Bay. They were 3, now they're down to 4 just because, again, strength of schedule is just not there for Green Bay. But again, Rodgers is playing well, like what I'm seeing for them on offense. 5, Baltimore. Even though there's other undefeated teams, I have to put Baltimore there because, again, their loss was to the best team in Kansas City. It's not going to flag them for that. 6 is Tennessee. It would have been interesting to see Baltimore and Tennessee both undefeated. Tennessee hasn't played the best of teams, so they're week 3-0, but I mean they're good, looking good offensively. And we'll see who's the better one between them and Indianapolis in that division. 7, Pittsburgh, again playing weak teams, so it'll be interesting to see what they kind of do once they play the better teams there. 8, Tampa Bay. I feel like Tampa Bay is figuring out offense, and defense is hit and miss, but they're just doing good right now. They'll be interesting to see what they can do against the elite teams. 9, the LA Rams. Again, offense struggled yesterday, but I feel like they're still a pretty good team, and I definitely noticed improvement from last year. And the 10, I have Indianapolis. Their defense is good, and I feel like they're just going to continue to get better. As long as Philip Rivers doesn't make a mistake, they're going to get better and better. And then if I had to pick 1 or 2 spots out, that would be Cleveland, because Cleveland's also 3-1 in Chicago because they just lost and now are 3-1. But those are my top 10. So Kansas City, Seattle, Buffalo, Green Bay, Baltimore, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, LA Rams, Indianapolis. And now I'm also going to go over my top 10 rankings after week 5 of college football. So let's get started. So number 1, I still have Clemson. Now it took them a while to be able to pull away from Virginia, but they eventually did. But the big matchup, though, will be against Miami. We will see if they are true playoff championship level contenders or not. 2, Alabama. Like I predicted, they took care of A&M in the second half and crushed them. It'll be a theme for every team they face, for the most part, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting to see what Alabama does against Georgia, who they face not this week, but next week, I believe. And then 3, Georgia. Now, first it was Florida ahead, but I flip-flopped them like people did. So I have Georgia ahead because I was impressed with winning against Auburn. And Florida, the offense still looking great, but again, Florida's defense, though, giving up high 20s to both South Carolina and Ole Miss, which are good teams, but not great. So I just feel like Florida's defense, which is known more for their defense using their offense, I feel like the defense should perform better. 5, Notre Dame. Again, had another bye week, but they should. I forgot who they play this week, but it'll be interesting to see what they do on from here. 6, Miami. Again, looking forward to that Clemson-Miami matchup. 7, Oklahoma State. So that win against Tulsa and West Virginia is looking better right now based off of last weekend. Being Kansas, nothing else. So we shall see what they're made of against teams like an Iowa State or Texas or the rival who's had the advantage, Oklahoma. We'll see what they are against them. 8 is BYU, looking at once again. That look good looking will continue against this week when they face UTSA. 9, North Carolina. It hasn't been flashy, but I feel like they are contenders in the ACC. Still need more quality competition before making any rash judgments. And then 10 is Virginia Tech. A softer schedule so far, but they have at least a third of the team not playing due to COVID, if not almost half, and yet they're still beating people. And the one against NC State, which looks like a pretty good one now, was a very decisive win. So they're pretty. They have a lot of depth, which will bode pretty well for them. It'll be interesting to see where they are in that Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, Notre Dame. It'll be interesting to see where they are in that mix there. So that's it for this week. I'll go over my next podcast on Thursday, going over my NFL predictions and college football predictions. Thank you very much for listening today. Please subscribe to my channel, tell everyone about me, because not a lot of people are watching, so please tell everyone about me. Thank you very much, and y'all have a wonderful day.